Namaskar friends. Today we will be talking about the potent tools to distract the destructive mind, the peregrinations of a turbulent mind and how that can cause long-term damage to our physical and emotional integrity. So as we have seen that these are immensely turbulent, volatile times in which we have tested the emotional resilience of our whole being. The damage has come a lot from the social isolation that comes from COVID-19 social distancing norms. And then there is this geopolitical unrest from trade wars between different countries and the tanking of the GDP secondary to the recession from coronavirus. And then there is the racial disparities and the tug of war going between the populism of equality versus the power of police force and things that are supposed to be administration, which are supposed to serve and protect, but which might be coming around as a point of extract and exploit. So there's a lot of forces that are competing with each other for power and restoration of equanimity or peace. In that process, we find ourselves very much clobbered by this emotional upheaval, and that's why we see a lot of successful individuals sometimes take their own lives, whether it happens in Hollywood all the time or in Bollywood, in different parts of the countries, different nations. Everybody's struggling at some level. So we have to have the emotional resilience, and that is why the teachings of Bhagavad Gita are more important today than they have ever been, because Kali Yuga is the time when we need these teachings the most. So today I will talk about my understanding from Dhyana about how to control our mind, because our mind has become our enemy. Our thought process has become more poisoned and intoxicated from this environmental onslaught of destruction that is being imposed upon us. So think about going back to the Katha Upanishad, the concept of the chariot. Think about the body as a chariot, or more commonly a car, and that body is housing 4 passengers inside it. The chauffeur or the driver, which is the mind, the front seat co-passenger, which is the senses. So the mind, the senses, and then there's the back seat passenger, which is the intellect or dharma, and the last co-passenger is the soul, the witnesser. So think about the prime roles of these 4 passengers that are housed in this body, physical body or the car chassis. The mind is, for the most part, apparent controller of everything we are doing. For 99% of the folks, it's not the intellect, it's definitely not the soul, it's the mind. And the mind is getting suggestions most in proximity with the soul, which is sitting as the front co-passenger. So, hey, seek the pleasure, seek instant gratification. So you go and transgress towards the short-term gains that we can make. So it has less of inputs coming from the dharma, dhyana of the intellect, and definitely least coming from the soul, which is mostly a witnesser. So mind is doing the desires, the senses, pleasure-seeking tendencies, intellect, establishment of dharma, Brahmanical neutrality, and soul, witnesser in chief. Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwara. But for the most part, the soul is supporter witnesser, enjoyer. It does become the controller if we are avatar, avdhut or paramatma, but for most individuals who are in this world, we are trying to salvage ourselves. So it is the witnesser, keeps a backlog of everything that the mind is doing. Mind is getting suggestions, both from the senses and the intellect. Whether it listens to the short-term gratification of senses or the long-term suggestions of dharma or righteousness, moral righteousness to overcome the moral ineptitude, that depends upon the strength of the signals being sent by the dharma versus the contrary pleasure-seeking tendencies from the senses. But the witnesser is going to keep a backlog, and based on the backlog, it will create a sense of self-esteem, because ahamkara is somewhere sitting in between these four people and deciding whether the things that we have done in fits of ahamkara, pleasure-seeking tendency, or dharma establishment is getting us image of us being a great individual or being a vile, evil person. So that image that the witnesser just provides the info to the mind, and the mind will make an informed decision whether, based on the past actions that we have performed, from these suggestions, whether we are doing something in the mode of sattvic goodness or evil tamas. And based on that self-esteem, your future actions will be determined whether you break the pleasure-seeking prayas for the good long-term shreyas. So once you know this four-seated arrangement inside the car, you know how to control the mind. Because when the mind is dictated by the pleasure-seeking tendencies, it's going to crash the car in a valley. But if you are going to go with the dharma, it will be a beautiful journey, the peregrination to higher lokas, higher evolved beings, and then you don't have to be bound in this karmic reincarnation cycle. Take off from where you left and pursue your path of nirvana or moksha. So, to control the mind, you have to know mind exists in three states: the tamasic indolence from continued suggestions from the senses, or the rajasic state where it is supposed to get a change from the status quo. So everything we are doing as nuclear reactors responding to the stimulus of hate, of anger, of greed, the mind is susceptible to those suggestions from the senses. Also, the mind has a chance through dhyana to break those suggestions, because then in dhyana he is so sitting close to the witnesser. And that's what we are asking. Whenever you have a lust, anger, greed, tri vidham narkasyedam dwaram nash namatmana, kama, krodha, satha, lobha, tasma, detatrem tejit. These three evil forces of lust, anger and greed. And lust does not mean just sexual pursuance. Lust means intense craving to go and attach to the object of sensual gratification. Whether it be food, clothes, ambition, sex, anything that is pursued strongly to get to the goal is lust. Anger is the emotion in the state of asiddhi or failure, when you do not get what you are pursuing. And greed is that inciting hurricane that wants you to go and attach to what you are seeking. So that's why lust, anger and greed are the enemies, because they are creating desires that are going to keep you distracted from your goal of establishing nirvana. So in rajasic mode, tamasic mode, the mind is status quo. It will keep doing what it's doing. If it is smoking one cigarette, it will keep smoking one cigarette every day. If it is drinking alcohol, it's going to drink every day. If it's gambling, it's going to gamble in the casinos no matter whether COVID breaks out. If it is going to do gaming, it is social distancing, it will sit home and just play video games all day, TikTok all day. So these kind of established behaviors that are getting concrete, of course, hard to break, are the tamasic tendencies, mostly in the mold of tamasic guna, the guna of indolence, inertia, that is being suggested by the short-term gratification of senses. However, What breaks pre-established norms is rajas, the fire of rajas, fire of transformation, the fire of pitta, the fire of activity. That will happen when you question the status quo, and that is why you need yoga. Yoga is union. Now, here the union is happening with sattva. The union is happening with Brahmanical neutrality to establish and get to the higher, best version that we deserve to be in. This highest, best version is a reflection of the actions and intentions of Paramatma, which the Atma is a part of. The drop is a part of the ocean. Atma is a part of the Paramatma. So these rajasic suggestions are what we have to do all the time. Being in the mode of witnesser. So when you get feelings of lust, anger, greed, despair, you have to say, oh, the mind is getting these suggestions. How fleeting, how upsetting. So you have to recognize and identify that these feelings are coming in the mind, but those are not you. That you have to say again. Don't have to believe it, no problem. You will never get anything right in the first attempt, but you have to continue pursuing it, the path of constructive perseverance. So you identify with those emotions. The mind is today angry, the mind is today lusty, greedy, upset, despairful, but it will change because mind is a part of Prakriti. Prakriti is constantly evolving back and forth, positive to negative polarity. So it will go away. You don't have to act on it. That's what you have to tell. If it's becoming hard, you have to, and it's kind of seeming to overpower you, you have to go back to being the witnesser in 3 modes. The first mode is of pranayamic breathing, because the mind is constantly pushing you, hey, go for it, go for the third cookie, go for another video game, let's have more sex. So you just say, okay, we will do that, but first let me have 2 minutes of breathing session. In those 2 minutes, you take a big breath in, Purak, and then you hold the breath, Kumbhak, and you let go, Rechak. Purak, Kumbhak, Rechak. Surya Bedi, hold it, let go. Left, Chandra Bedi, take in, hold it, let go from same nostril. Same nostril, left pathway, Chandra Bedi. Same nostril, right pathway, Surya Bedi. Always you are breathing one more from one nostril or the other. But basically, Surya Bodhi, Chandra Bedi, Pranayama, breathing, Pranavayu, sitting there, is going to control the mind. So first tactics is breathing slowly, breathing deeply. If you are highly evolved, you might try to just pay attention to the ajna, where you are just concentrating on a dot and seeing the dot. The black color gets even more black than the surrounding blackness. Different people will have different experiences. I don't want to impose my visualizations on your thought process. You are a different individual than I am. So everybody will have their own experiences, but that will calm you down. The breathing slow will definitely calm you down. If breathing and dhyana is not doing it, which is one part of dhyana I consider, then you come to affirmations. Affirmations is when you say loudly, I am not going to act on those evil ideas because they make me have a lower self-esteem of myself. And then you start chanting. You start chanting your best mantra. Om Bhurbhuva Sata Sudarnim Bhargo Devasya Dhimai Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Triambakam Yajamaya Sugandhim Pushti Varnam Urvarakni Bandhan Mrityurmukshay Mamita. Vakratun Mahakaya Suryakoti Samprabh Nirvighnan Kurume Dev Sarkari Sarvash. You do whatever pleases your mind. You do Hanuman Chalisa, Bhaj Govindam, Aditya Hridayam, whatever pleases your mind, you go with it and you recite it for 1 or 2 minutes. You will see the magic. The thought that the monkey mind was having initially is gone. It might come back 2 days or 2 minutes later, but for the time period you have won. Every battle you have won is getting you closer to winning the war against these evil tamasic tendencies, the suggestions of the sensual pleasure. That makes you stronger. Every little battle you win, you are becoming stronger. So that's how the Rajasic fire operates in Dhyana mode. The third technique to control the suggestions of the tamasic pleasures is in the mode of action. So you go and do some charity work, you go and do some cleaning, you go and do some cooking, tennis. Engage yourself in some activity where you're not sitting in one place idly, and the boredom is going to overhaul and hold your mind hostage, and then you're going to acquiesce to the demands of lust, anger, and greed. So the sensual pleasures can be broken through the yoga of dhyana, which is either sensualizations at the glabella by closing the eyes in meditation, or pranayama, which is the practice of breathing either through one nostril into the other alternatingly, or single nostril up and down, Chandrabhedi, Suryabhedi, or that's the first path. The second is, of course, the speech, as I said. The speech is affirmations and chanting, and the third is karma, nishkam karma, charity, or just doing your daily chores. But do something where you are not going to sit ideally and lament and reprocess the same thoughts, because the more those suggestions come to you, the more weaker you get every time. So you have to dismantle the pleasure seeking suggestion. The pleasure seeking suggestion is not bad. The pleasure seeking suggestion is trying to get you an easy escape, a distraction for few seconds, because the duress and the stress of everything that we are around, we want to feel the enjoyer, because the soul is the enjoyer. So the intention of the pleasure seeking tendencies of the senses are not bad. The process is bad. The way they pursue it is going to get us more into the tamasic guna. So that's why I am not a big fan of sensual pleasure seeking prayas. The pleasures of dopamine are going to make us more into bondage of seeking it more and more, which is not going to solve the problem. That's why you have to stick with dharma in those modes. Now, we have to understand that once we have broken the tamasic tendencies of the sensual pleasures using the rajasic forces that I mentioned of pranayama, dhyana, chanting, and nishkam karma, then ahankara has gone out. Surrender, my friends, is the best way to control. Remember, surrender is not something for the weak. Surrender is a very strong force. The more you surrender in bhakti yoga to a higher evolved beings, which is the Paramatma, a higher reflection of yourself, you are becoming stronger, because the guna effect is getting you as strong as that person is. You are relaying the information and the energy from a higher evolved aware being to us as ignorant beings. So that is using the rajasic forces. And the third state that we will get into after breaking the tamasic forces using these four rajasic tendencies, the practices, is to get in the sattvic tendency. When you come in sattvic tendency, the mind, you see what I'm saying? Tamasic mind, overloaded with sensual pleasures, in situ, cannot break its bad habits, is broken by the rajasic energy of the dharma, which is established through dhyana, pranayama, chanting, and nishkam karma. Once that happens, you have to keep it in this mold, which is the light levitated state of the mind, constant, happy, bubbly, always simple, like a small child just running around happy. You know, that kind of nature, the childlike innocent nature of the mind, that is the sattvic mind. Now the most important thing is to protect the integrity of the sattvic mind, the soul in its true naive nature, that has to be preserved. And we have to know that the sattvic stage itself in Gita has been broken down into three stages. The lowest stage of sattvic evolution is sthit pragya. Sthit pragya se kim bhasha, prabhasi kim vashe. What is the language that the sthit muni or the evolved being speaks? What kind of actions he has? And then the second state that Arjuna asks, I will explain. The second state is udasinvat asino, udasinvat asaktam. So doing the activities without having an expectation. And the last state is gunatit, transcending the guna. So three stages we will go through: sthit pragya, udasinvat asino, gunatit. Now, sthit pragya, very beautifully explained by Socrates and the other Greek philosophers. Marcus Aurelius, a big fan of Stoicism, if you read on his books. But Stoicism or tapas is the tendency to purify yourself by causing austerity. So it's a little hard. It's like intermittent fasting, cold showers, breath holding runs. All these things are austerities. You are making the Panch Bhautik Sharir suffer just a little bit. Just a little bit of strain is good. The anti-fragility theory. What does not break down becomes stronger. So you just stress a little bit and then you get a stronger system out of it. Your immune system is stronger, your resolve is stronger, your whole personality is stronger, you have a good feeling, higher self-esteem. Not necessarily narcissism, confidence. Stops at confidence, doesn't get narcissistic. So that is the Brahmanical neutrality of Sattva in Sthit Pragya. Sthit Pragya person, Matra Sparshastu Kontaya Sitoshn Sukhdugda Agma Payoni Nityasi Chhaso Bharata. That person does not let the senses come in contact with sensual gratification object, because that contact is the cause of all the duality distinctions and the miseries in life. Rag Dvesh Vikta Istu Vishayendriyaschan. The Rag and Dvesh. Rag is love, Dvesh is hatred. So love aversion polarity is created through the sensual pleasures, creating distinctions in this world. So the whole point is to keep the senses away from the object of sensual gratification. And austerity or Sthitiprag individual, by not responding to the cold as the cold, the hot as the hot, the hunger as the hunger, by disidentifying with the transient emotion, is able to control the mind and get over the sensual pleasure trap, suggestions from the front seat passenger that, oh, let's go for more pleasure seeking tendencies. That is the state of Sthitiprag stoicism. And that's why the austerities of tapas, breath holding, runs, the cold exposures, intermittent fasting. Those are the three I practice myself. The second way that you will evolve once you have become Sthit Pragya through the austerities is Udasinvat Asino. This is the stage in which you need the Sthul Sharir or the car to perform. You have the good intentions. Now you have to convert your intentions into actions. The actions of Nishkam Karma. Nishkam Karma is dispensation of duty. Your ethical, moral duty to the best of your ability without attachment to rewards in return. No expectations. When you have no expectations, you will perform the best. You concentrate on the process, not the profits. Because the moment the profit sinks in your brain, the process of conducting the performance, the act, is diluted. So we don't give 100%. The focus is lost. What we choose to focus on decides how good a person we are. That's why you should not focus on negative energies. You should focus on positive goals that you are pursuing. So this person has become Udasinvat Asino. Udasin in Hindi means sad, but that's not the classical Dwapar Yug Udasin word. Udasin means indifferent. So you are indifferent to the pains that are being hurled at you while you're performing the work. When you're studying 8 hours trying to memorize something, you have to put your mind through the rigors of sitting there. Or when you're meditating, you're feeling bored. You're not responding to the transient emotions that are coming inside you. You just identify that, okay, they are present, they will go away. They're transient, mind is transient, Prakriti is evolving. These things don't stay forever. So why should I internalize this emotion forever? Once you become Udasinvat Asino, which is dispensation of duty without expectations, but this is dispensation of moral duty based on dharma, to establish the Brahmanical neutrality. You are pursuing the path of sattva, levitation, goodness. And that makes you feel good, because then the registrar, their soul, writes down, this is a good guy, he knows how to follow the right mind, he is not tempted always. So that good feeling is reinforced on you again and again, winning every small battle to win the eventual war and get to nirvana. The last stage is Gunatit. Now this is the stage which very few of us will get to, and there's nothing wrong with that. Gunatit is a quality of Avdhut, Avtara or Paramatma. These are evolved beings that are not going to be tainted by things that we mortal souls will get tempted by. So Gunatit means you are beyond the effect of gunas. Gunas is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Tamas of indolence, inertia, Rajas of transformation, Sattva of levity and goodness. These good beings are beyond these descriptions of influencing associations of gunas, because guna or maya represents the trap of delusion that the Atma is going to face when it comes in this material world. So Gunatit individual is beyond the influencing association. Even if 10 smokers are surrounding him, he's not gonna smoke. Even if people are drinking around him, he's gonna drink. That guy does not, he has such a strong power over the sthit pragya level and the udasinvat asitam level that no matter what you do, this guy is immutable, intransformable. That's the quality of the soul. Na jayate vriyate ma krajit na bhutva bhavita vana bhuya ajanita shastayam purana anyate anye mane shari. What you cannot kill, what you cannot destroy, what you cannot moisten or dry, that thing is immutable to the change in nature, and that's Gunatit. Very hard to attain, but that's our goal. And the Gunatit individual never loses sight of dharma. He is constantly in mode of dharma. Vinashikale viparit buddhi does not happen. Destruction of intellect in times of despair and hostile environment does not happen in that individual. So Gunatit, beyond influencing association, is very hard to attain, but some sukh dukh dhiram somritvai kalpate. A person who does not respond to sukha and dukha, happiness or sadness, hatred or love, that person is Gunatit. So that's a very Brahmanical Paramatma quality, very hard to attain. But that's where you will eventually automatically evolve. You don't have to pursue it, it will pursue you. Nature will pursue you and select you and make you do things if you are willing to be a participant. All God is asking is to turn your back away from him towards him. Just ask for the grace, and the Bhagavad grace or Bhagavad Kripa will happen on us. So my friends, we have to change the mindset of these weakened souls from suicide to samadhi. Suicide is destruction of the body because of intense emotional upheaval, and all the revolved souls, they go in samadhi. Samadhi is the state when you say my job is done, I'm going to leave. They don't use knives, they don't use ropes to strangle themselves, they don't use artificial drugs to end the system, because that is a sign of weakness. No animal commits suicide. So weakness is not accepted. Weakness, I understand, you can have compassion for weakness, but you have to learn from the yogic traditions to make yourself strong and insulate against these emotional upheavals that are transient but destructive for the families, friends, community of the individual who commits these kind of things in an emotional upheaval. So by making yourself strong spiritually through the practices of rajas that I told you, in dhyana, in bhakti, in karma yoga, you will gain more control over yourself so that you don't go into this emotional upheaval. Why is it important? Because everything is amplified in the state of dreams and after death. So now what you are feeling, you're going to feel it 10 times stronger in your dreams. You have experienced that. And you will feel it even stronger when you're a preta, which is an individual who has lost his bhuta. Bhuta is this body. Preta is the combination of these four individuals: the mind, the senses, the intellect, and the soul. Not ahankara. Ahankara is mostly dead after dying. So there is no anger in afterlife. There is more love, but also there is yearning, because lot of unfinished business is there. So this preta has to wait in line to get another bhuta, but since it destroyed the body willingly by its own accord, it has to wait longer. The yearning is more, because of course by committing suicide nobody gets out of this karmic cycle of birth and rebirth. No animal kills themselves. Other animals kill other animals when they are hungry, they need food. So there is no need to end a life that Prakriti gave you because you asked for it. You forgot it, but you had asked to be part of this system, the desire-driven motor that you wanted to engage in. So that's why we have to make ourselves stronger, and we have to be aware and look out for these individuals who might be having a lot of tormentation in their life, and we have to save them when we see them, because if we ignore it, we are also a part of the problem. If something happens in front of our eyes, we have to stop it. We have to be aware in sattvic mode to stop it. But if something is happening not in front of our eyes and we cannot help it, lamentation is not going to help. It's going to make you weaker. You have to become stronger and learn from their mistakes, that you will become stronger. So learning from experience of others is as important as learning from your own mistakes, because that learning is knowledge. And of course, imagination and awareness is a heightened level of learning. That is why always You have to learn from experiences, and you have to learn from your imagination or the creativity that comes in the chitta, or the emotional intelligence, I should say the intellectual cosmic intelligence that comes to you when you're aware in the mode of dhyana. So my friends, to complete this summary, mind is a very important tool. What we choose to focus on determines what we become in this life and in next lives. Yavam yapi smaran bhavate jinte kalevram tam tame vaiti konte sadbhav bhavita. Whatever thoughts come to you at the time of death, that's the life you will take in your next life. That's what Krishna says. So very important to determine and choose what we focus on, because what we focus on will determine what kind of individual we become, what kind of practices, goals, purposes we pursue. And whenever the short-term prayers, sensual pleasures are trying to override us, go back to the backseat dharma in the mode of dhyana, pranayama, nishkam karma, bhakti yoga. Use the power of yoga, threefold power of yoga. Bhakti yoga, surrender. Surrender is the most powerful way of controlling someone. Dhyan yoga, in which you do meditation, and pranayama, and nishkam yoga, in which you are using your body to help others, charity and philanthropy. You see how closely they are talked to the three levels: sharir, vak, manobhir, yad karm prarabdhe nara. When you are using sharir, vak, mano, sharir is body for nishkam karma, and then vak is vachan words, which is using the power of chanting and affirmations, and mano is the dhyana. So all those three planes you can perform yoga. You choose whatever you like. If you like doing Brahma Muhurat, dhyana for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, transcendental meditation, go for it. If you're a guy who loves chanting, listening to music, go for the chanting, go for the affirmations. Write a goal of your life every week, every month, and see if your goal of your life is evolving, getting better in one single sentence, and pursue it every day and see how you can craft it. And of course, then the last one is in the mode of body, so helping others, what Neem Karoli says, love people, feed people, serve people. So we have to engage in these yogas to distract our mind from the destructive ideas of self-destruction, which although transient can take our lives and cause damage. So hopefully we will not lose any more lives, whether it's to be of celebrities or normal individuals. Everybody is struggling at their own levels, and we have to be compassionate towards them and helping them, but at the same time helping us and learning from the sadful experiences of others, so that we can make ourselves, families, communities even stronger than before. Namaskar.